Whatever, let's do the German thing, okay? Shall we? So, Angela Merkel has made a suggestion very recently that in 2021, the European Union wanted to talk to Russia, wanted to talk things out, wanted to smooth things out, prevent Ukraine from being invaded, basically. Actually, not exactly prevent Ukraine from being invaded. The line is that the European Union, under the guidance of Angela Merkel, wanted to solve the conflict in the Donbass, and that the Baltics and Poland primarily stood in the way and said, no, you're not capable of having a unified front against Russia, and therefore we oppose this idea. We stand in the way of this idea. There will be no talk with Russia. There is no talking with Russia, okay? So effectively, Merkel has said that Poland and the Baltics are responsible for the Ukrainian invasion because they stood in the way of smoothing things out. A claim that Poland, understandably, as well as the Baltics, are not very thrilled by. They're not very happy by being blamed for the biggest war since World War II in Europe. Understandably, these countries are not very happy about such a big accusation. Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski has led a chorus of criticism from Central and Eastern Europe in response to comments by former German Chancellor Angela Merkel, suggesting that Poland and the Baltic states partly blocked EU efforts to engage Russia before its 2022 invasion of Ukraine. See, I guess Angela Merkel is joining the chorus of people blaming everybody and anything besides Russia for the invasion because, we could have solved it, but Poland apparently just didn't want to. Poland just didn't want this whole thing to be over. Yes. Merkel's remarks in an interview with Hungarian outlet Partizan sparked strong reactions across the region. This is very interesting that Merkel would say such things to a Hungarian outlet of all things, considering the Hungarian attitude towards the war, Hungarian attitude towards Russia. This is all very interesting. But I guess it tracks considering that European Union has effectively enabled Viktor Orban's race to power. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave my commentary regarding Hungary-European Union relations at that for now. Because there will be a whole separate segment that I don't think we have the time nor the energy to get into now. Polish and Baltic politicians rejecting her implication that their resistance to direct EU-Russia talks contributed to Moscow's aggression. Speaking on Monday, Sikorski said Merkel's claim that Warsaw opposed such talks was as true as what Merkel said in her memoirs, that nobody from Central Europe protested against Nord Stream, which, as you can imagine, Poland has greatly opposed Nord Stream, and Poland has claimed, actually factually, I know that there's this saying that hindsight is 2020, but it is factually true that the dependence on gas and energy in general from Russia has led to some trouble in Europe. Let's just put it like that. And Poland has been warning that Nord Stream would increase German/European dependence on Russian energy. And revenue from said gas is considered to be a huge contributor to fueling, or rather funding, the Russian war machine against Ukraine. So Angela Merkel in her memoirs famously said that no Central European countries, nobody from Central Europe protested against Nord Stream. And of course, there's a whole discussion whether or not Poland should be considered an Eastern European country or a Central European country. Let's leave that discussion for some other day, but let's just say that Angela Merkel was saying that Poland did not in any way protests to the construction of Nord Stream. Look at the German government's reaction to what I said in 2007 about how we don't like agreements made over our heads. So the chancellor must have forgotten how her own government reacted to our protests, he added. Merkel said in the interview that in June 2021, she and French President Emmanuel Macron had sought direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin over what they saw as his declining commitment to the 2015 Minsk agreements. This was not supported by some. It was mainly the Baltic states, but Poland was also against it, she said. There is the claim. This is the claim. This is the claim that Poland and the Baltics were partially responsible for things escalating into a war. This is the claim. Her comments triggered a wave of anger in Warsaw. Former Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki said on X, Angela Merkel, through her thoughtless interview, proved that she is among the most harmful German politicians to Europe in the past century. Well, strong words from our former prime minister. Is it undeserved? Maybe a bit strongly worded, but it does not change the fact that the words by Angela Merkel were not really praiseworthy, even if the phrasing by the former prime minister of Poland was a bit strong. Katarzyna Pełczyńska-Nałęcz, Poland's regional policy minister and former ambassador to Russia, said Merkel's words only played into Moscow's narrative. Suggesting blame for the war because someone didn't sit down with Russia on time and didn't bow low enough to Moscow is absurd. It would have been even worse, she said, which, you know what? I will agree with this sentiment. I will agree with this sentiment that it is really ridiculous to buy into this narrative of, oh, maybe we would not have started the war if you would have worked hard enough with us for us to decide not to. I think we can all agree that this is just silly. Oh, if only you worked hard enough with us, then maybe we would have not decided to invade. But you know what? You didn't work with us hard enough, so we had no choice but to invade. It's silly. It's silly, and it's just blaming everybody and anybody and everything but Russia for the invasion, which, of course, as mentioned here, is indeed a Russian narrative. That is indeed a Russian narrative. Vladimir says, I know that Merkel did a lot of noise recently. Also, hello, Lucy. Hello, Vladimir. Baltic backlash, because, of course, not just Poland had backlash, because not just Poland was accused of these things, but also the Baltic states were equally accused of contributing to the Russian invasion on Ukraine. Baltic officials were similarly dismissive. Former Latvian Prime Minister Krišjānis Kariņš said he was astonished that after everything that has happened in Ukraine, he still thinks this way, adding that Merkel had misunderstood Russia's intentions. Putin acts the way he acts, and the only options for the West are either to submit or to resist. I am glad that the new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz does not share Merkel's views, Kariņš said. Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna wrote on X that Russia alone is to blame for this aggression. Yes, this should be a no-brainer, but apparently people are scrambling all of a sudden to find people, parties, countries to blame, any other countries than Russia to blame for the invasion. Why did you block us from making things right? Why did you block us from talking with Russia? It could have been perfect. Could have been perfect, but Poland and the Baltic states just ruined it all. You've ruined it. Suggesting that the Baltics or Poland are to blame for Russia's aggression against Ukraine is not only impertinent, but simply wrong. The real cause is Putin's refusal to accept the USSR's collapse and the West's past appeasement while ignoring clear warning signs. That is true. Tsahkna added, slamming the country for its unrelenting imperialist ambitions. I mean, the West also enabled dictators in its own territory, European Union territory, such as Viktor Orban, as I've mentioned before briefly. However, Marek Magierowski, Poland's former ambassador to the United States, criticized the media for overstating Merkel's intent. The former chancellor only says that the Baltics and Poland did not agree to a new EU format of talks with Russia. From that statement to the formulation that Poland is co-responsible for Putin's war is quite a long way, he wrote on X. I don't know. I think the implication is there. I think some of the implication at least is there. Magierowski's comments were made in apparent reference to claims by German tabloid Bild. The paper interpreted Merkel's remarks as blaming Poland and the Baltic states for severing diplomatic relations between Russia and the EU, thereby leading to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Poland's opposition to Nord Stream, of course, mentioned here. And there is this, Nord Stream increased Europe's dependency on gas. Kiev said that Russian gas revenues helped finance the Kremlin's war in Ukraine. Since the invasion, Berlin has acknowledged that its reliance on Russian energy was a mistake. There you go. So that's the news. Merkel under fire for implying that Poland and the Baltics were responsible for the invasion that happened in 2022. Although some claim that the implication was not there. But let me just say this. If the statement was so vague as to leave room for such interpretation that the Baltics or Poland are to blame for the invasion, then you know what? Maybe some clarification was in order on Angela Merkel's part. That is what I'm going to say on the matter. Maybe some clarification was in order to make double, triple, quadruple sure that such an interpretation could not have been made. Otherwise, I think it's fair game to surmise that at least some of the blame is being laid at the feet of said countries, which I think is a nonsensical proposition. Only Russia can be blamed for invading Ukraine. If only we have tried harder. If only we have tried harder. If only we have talked with Russia harder, then this whole thing would have been avoided. But I guess Poland didn't want to.